I want to thank Mr. Walton. I also want to thank, and I was told to say, Mr. Jones. President Jones, I was corrected. Also, the board and CALLERLAB for giving me these few precious minutes. I also want to thank Mr. John Kay for saying that my time was between the main course and dessert. This evening we're going to talk briefly about the National Folk Dance Movement. I feel greatly honored that the National Folk Dance Committee has selected me to speak on their behalf. For those of you who may not know their activity, let me quote from a recent letter received by our chairman of the board, John Jones, and this letter is from the National Folk Dance Committee, dated January 24th, 1981. The National Folk Dance Committee consists mostly of past presidents of the Santa Clara Valley Square Dance Association. It is incorporated as a California-based non-profit corporation and has been active for more than 10 years. The stated proposal is to promote square dancing, to have the United States Congress advance a resolution to proclaim square dancing as our national dance. And here it is. It's House Joint Resolution 151, introduced into the 97th Congress, February 2nd, 1981, by Congressman Norman Mineta of San Jose, California, and co-sponsored by 24 congressmen from various states. The resolution is nice and even looks impressive, but, and that's big, it isn't worth the paper it's written on without a favorable vote by the House of Representatives and the Senate, for only then does it become a law. Before we go on, let me explain just a little bit on types of bills. Some are introduced and voted on immediately. Some originate in committees and then are introduced and voted on. Some are introduced and then go to a committee and later voted on. The resolution proclaiming square dancing as our national folk dance falls into a category known as commemorative legislation. And this is handled very uniquely because after the introduction goes to the committee, and by the way, this one happens to be Post Office and Civil Service Committee. The unique part of this, the resolution must have co-sponsors equal to 1/2 the members of the House of Representatives before it can become to the floor for a vote, and that's roughly 218. As of March 31, 1981, this bill has 34 co-sponsors, leaving us with 184 to go. The National Folk Dance Committee has been successful in having the bill introduced to the last 5 Congresses, but has limited success in gathering co-sponsors. It's an almost impossible task. Last year, during the 96th Congress, a petition campaign was launched by the committee, and with the help of our national and local square dance organizations and publications, succeeded in securing 151 co-sponsors. The previous height was 17 in the 95th Congress, and this was a dramatic increase, and it's given the committee a shot in the arm, so to speak. We now have a new Congress, a new bill, a new start, and this where, hopefully, you will come into the picture. If you're wondering what effect may result from the passage of this bill, let's consider these possibilities. First, square dancing will represent state, local, national art cultural commissions. An official historical records of our activities will be assured, and most important perhaps, will be in the schools. Our national folk dance will be taught. Experienced callers, dancers, and leaders and educators working together should develop and implement a program of square dancing and teacher instructions for all educational levels. Even though square dancing is being properly taught in many of our schools, we should make improvements where they are being taught haphazardly. CALLERLAB can have a very important effect in the school systems that it has with the square dance movement worldwide. We feel square dancing generally would reap a triple reward. 1, we work with the schools and they work with us. 2, standardize stooling. student appearing. Don't say anything. Course of square dancing in our school systems will produce more dancers, and I've put hopefully, than we've ever dreamed of. State and local recreation departments will be looking for callers and dancers for the development of square dance programs and instruction. For a change, we'll be on the inside looking out, and it may look pretty good. Dancers are plenty, and places to dance more easily available. And just last evening, our Board of Governors adopted a resolution to support National Folk Dance to be square dancing, and they encourage you to assist the National Folk Dance Committee with their efforts to obtain the required number of co-sponsors for this bill to get it out of the committee and up for the vote. Let's recap just for a moment and see where we are and what we need to accomplish. The National Folk Dance Committee has just completed a mailing of over 750 packets. Information on HJR 151, a list of members of the 97th Congress who previously are flagged, so to all square dance organization publications. Letters to previous co-sponsors requesting their support by agreeing to co-sponsor 151. Letters to first-term congressmen informing them about square dancing and requesting they support HJR 151. An information sheet on HJR 151 is included with your handouts. Additional information should be available from your local dance organizations or publications, or you may write to the National Folk Dance Committee, and their address is Square Dance, P.O. Box 5775, San Jose, California, 95130 code. You, as members of CALLERLAB, with the mic, can help to spread the word to clubs, callers associations, that we need more co-sponsors for this resolution. Your dancers can help by having groups meet with their local congressman. If he is a co-sponsor, thank him and request his assistance in getting his associates to agree to co-sponsor. If he is not a co-sponsor, tell him that all the possible things about square dancing in his district and request that he agree to co-sponsor. If enough people do this, in enough districts, and soon enough, we may have a national folk dance announced at our national convention at Seattle in June. The state of Washington, Oregon, and Alabama has adopted square dancing as their state folk dance. Let's go big time and make it our national folk dance. Thank you. I don't want to take yours with me.
Thank you very much, Harold. At this point in time, the last CALLERLAB I was at, I remember very well that we made perhaps a good choice of having Dave Taylor introduce all of the members of the head table, which then turned into a roast. And as I recall, due to Dave's brevity, the banquet overran by an hour and a half. I will try to avoid doing that, standing as close as I am to... It used to be Chairman Jones, but as he's in the presidential suite upstairs, we're now referring to him as President Jones. And we have his picture up there next door to right next to a peanut farmer from Georgia. Before Reagan. And before Reagan's picture could get put up there, as may be significant, I don't know. I would like, first of all, to introduce the greeters that greeted you tonight, and they're sitting down at this reserve table down the front. And if you would rise, and if you'd all hold your applause until we've introduced everybody, we're going to get the members of the board to stand up as I call their names, and then at the end I'll ask you for applause for all of them. To announce the next part of our program, because to me, as I've watched this from down there where you're seated, it has always given me much pleasure to see these people that are going to be recognized. I came here from a country many miles away where tonight they're having riots, and I would like to introduce at this time to present, to read at least the nominees of our small world award. I would like to introduce Herb Eggener. Where are you, Herb?
Thank you, Colin. Unquestionably, those who attend CALLERLAB conventions make a considerable investment of time and money in the organization, and it's an investment that is greatly appreciated. I empathize with those who talk about the cost of travel and hotel rooms, because I shortly will be gathering my 8th packet of canceled checks, and it's always a shock. However, I have not priced any tickets to Jakarta, Indonesia, or Australia, or England, or West Germany recently. I probably couldn't stand the shock. So we like to recognize those who have made that kind of an investment in time and money to join us here by giving them the Small World Award. We have several of those individuals who are with us for the first time this evening, and we would like to present them with a plaque. From West Germany, Jim Jenkins.
Japan, Korea, and all over the U.S. I finally had to go to Berlin to get one of these. Thank you.
Thank you. Also from West Germany, Heidi and Rudy Menace.
Thank you very much, and we are very proud to be here and become the first native caller from Germany to join CALLERLAB. Thank you.
From Australia, Jean and Ron Menny.
Very much. It's been a pleasure to be part of this organisation. I'm very proud of it, and I hope that we can also talk some of our other members to coming over here and enjoy this wonderful experience.
Also from Australia, Jeff Seidel. You're there.
This is the hardest part, saying something that I wasn't announced as Seidel. I have a lot of trouble with your language. It is Seidel, but it's nice to be here, and thanks very much for having us. Thank you.
Also from Australia, Eric Wendell.
Thank you, everybody, for your great American hospitality that we have heard of so often in Australia. I have one wish, and that is to visit the United States next year together with CALLERLAB. Thank you very much.
At this point, I would like to ask the Master of Arms to secure the doors. I think we're being taken over. Also from Australia, Ella and Ron White.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, 12,000 miles and not very far to come to get an award like this, and I do really appreciate being one of CALLERLAB. Thank you very much.
To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time we've ever had an individual from this particular location, and we'll welcome at this time from Jakarta, Indonesia, Scotty Scott. I know you don't. Give him this one. You can get it back. I know. Give him this one and get it back.
Well, I don't really know what to say, but I was trying to find out when this was on, and it was sort of hard being stuck over in Indonesia. And funnily enough, my secretary got a letter from Jeff Siedel's wife, and she said that, oh, Jeff's going to the USA next week. And I said, well, he's only going for one bloody reason. So I said, here I come too. Thank you.
Now, we have a number of people who have been with us before from overseas locations who have previously been recognized with the Small World Award. We will ask them to come forward, and we'll ask you to hold your applause until they all get here. Only one of those is accompanied by his wife, and so we'll ask them to come up first, and we would like to present a corsage to Hilda and John Smith from England. If you will come up first. From Saudi Arabia, Frank Cockrell. From England, Malcolm Davis. From Japan, Takozaki. From West Germany, Al Stevens. If you would all join us up here, we would appreciate it.
Members of the Executive Board, members of CALLERLAB, on behalf of all of us up here, we'd just like to say thank you very, very much for your hospitality once again, and thank you for the way you received us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb, for the introductions. Sitting here, it has been a great pleasure to me to listen to the language being spoken as God intended. We now come to another part of our program where we recognize people for longevity. For those of you that are not carrying a thesaurus, that means for those of us who have been calling a long time. Many of us have received this Quarter Century Award. And presenting the certificates for that, we have a First Lady, and the Chairman, John and Shirley Jones, down there are going to make the presentations, and I'm going to stumble through the names. Before we get there, I would like to tell you that there are some certificates that are being mailed, and I will not read the list, but it is appropriate, I think, that we give awards from east to west in this country and all over the world for that matter. And we did mail awards to Eddie East of Maryland and Wayne West of Oregon. As I read your name out for those Quarter Century Awards, if you would come forward, John and Shirley are down there with John Kay organizing the certificates. We're going to present those Quarter Century Awards. First of all, we have Whitey Emott. If I don't pronounce your name correctly, you can get me later, fellas and girls. Red Bates. Can you see Red moving anywhere? Yes. So, Ray Benedette. No. It is amazing that they don't have as much gray hair as we have coming up here, but yes. Some of us have to get our hair shined anymore, don't we? You can get me later, Cal. Bob Bennett. Is he moving? Cal Campbell. Dale Cassidy. Okay, Louis Dominguez. Buford Evans. Buck Flanagan. Bob Lightfoot. Spud Magnus. Bob Lightfoot. I got him once. Sorry about that. Angus McMurran. He should be handy. Swersey Norris. Orville Pitton. Bob Powell. Gil Russell. Ken Shuttleworth. Jack Smith. Bill Feed. Keith Topance. And Ron White. I'm beginning to feel more at home with this gray hair in front of me. Who? Ladies and gentlemen, are going to be joining many other people that have been given this award. And there is one other name I have on this list. And as soon as the last man is through the line, I think you would like to know that at this time, Chairman, our lame duck chairman, has reached his majority in this business. And we would like to recognize also and join the rest of us in the Quarter Century Club, John Jones. Your applause for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
It was nice of John to bring his daughter with him.
What you doing, fellas? Talking about the old days? Don't move yet. Not an hour and a half yet, Dave. It's all right. When we were talking about people that have been in this business a long time, many of you know this gentleman well, but for those of you that don't know him, I'm going to try and introduce him straight, which is very difficult for me, because he's an old and dear personal friend of mine and has been a caller and in this business for 34 years. He was one of the callers that came to Europe and was instrumental in bringing square dance to Europe and in many ways into my life, and it's made a complete change and sent me in a direction which I never dreamt would be possible. And I've made many jokes about this gentleman and will continue to, but tonight is not the night, because tonight he wants to present a very, very serious presentation which you're going to enjoy, because when Cal says you're going to enjoy, you better enjoy. And he's going to talk to us about motivation. But before I introduce him finally, I would like to say that they did give me some instructions. They said he's allowed 20 minutes, let him run to 25, and after that, blow the platform up underneath him. And if that isn't motivation enough for me to get him off the platform after 25 minutes, I don't know what is. Ladies and gentlemen, please, your attention for Mr. Cal Golden.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Governors, fellow callers and partners, and distinguished guests. This is a real privilege for me to have an opportunity to address you folks. We spent about a year on this. It's only a 40-hour subject, and to cut it down to 20 minutes, it takes about a year. We'd like to talk to you about motivation. You see a lot of successful people. You've seen a lot of people do things, and you wonder sometimes what makes these people do it. There's a word called motivation we'd like to share with you. Any person who wants to achieve permanent and sustained success knows he must acquire a vast reserve of inner strength, determination, and desire. He must have the ability to motivate himself. He must develop motivation because a man cannot hope to motivate others unless he himself is motivated. Motivation begins with developing a personal courage, enthusiasm, know-how, confidence, and belief, supported by a positive attitude towards his own ability. The individual is motivated to create, produce, and to achieve. He sets an example of motivation that is the first step towards motivating others. Motivation is exactly what the word means, the ability to motivate yourself to accomplishments. Motivation means the development of inner strength, willpower, overwhelming desire, and determination to reach a goal that you want to achieve. No matter who you are, what your age may be, if you want to achieve permanent, sustaining success, the motivation that will drive you towards that goal must come from within. It must be personal. It must be deep-rooted and in your innermost thoughts. All other motivation, the excitement of a crowd, the stimulation of a pep talk, the exhilaration of a passing circumstances is temporary. It will not last. The word motivation first became used in common in England and America in 1880. In the early days, motivation meant motor force. Motivation was a desire. Motivation was a function in human behavior. It was the prime mover of human activity. It was in 1930 that motivation gained acceptance as a fundamental concept. Since that time, writers, leaders have viewed motivation as a major... There's no doubt about it, that lady is motivated. Of course, your price will probably go up for that little motivation there. Since that time, writers, leaders have viewed motivation as a major subdivision of knowledge of the mind. And in 1960, motivation meant drive and goal directions. Positive motivation brought pleasure. Negative motivation brought pain. What is motivation? The encyclopedia defines motivation as the cause of human behavior. Another says motivation is a process that impels you towards activity, direct behavior. Man has long sought to understand why we act as we do, because this knowledge helps people to learn more quickly, to do better work, and become more happier and healthier. Motivation changes dreams and desires into reality and achievement. It is the ability to make yourself a better caller and teacher. It is what makes you develop the willpower and determination necessary for you to become successful. And this is what we're looking for, to be successful, happy, and secure. Motivation comes from within yourself, and it can be developed with determined effort. External motivation is temporary. For example, the excitement of calling for a very large and enthusiastic crowd of dancers. This can stimulate, motivate you. The callers can do a better job of calling than he normally does at home with a smaller crowd of regular dancers. But here the circumstances are externally. They are only short-lived. Sooner or later this is gone. Continued success means self-reliance and not depending on external factors to get you going. If you were calling a dance, you may look around and say, my wife motivates me. The dancers motivates me. What happens if your wife is not there and you're not motivated? Just recently I was calling a dance and everything seemed to be going kind of downhill. And I said, man, oh man, this crowd just ain't getting with it tonight. And as I went in the restroom and I looked in the mirror, I found out who wasn't getting with it. And I walked back out on the stage with a different attitude, and the dance changed. It was amazing when my attitude changed how the dance got going. They danced better and had more fun. It comes back to motivation. How do you go about acquiring motivation? Whether you believe it or not, at one time in your life, you were motivated. Let me tell you when and how it started. Let's start thinking back just a little. One day when you were a dancer, you said to yourself as you looked up at that caller, I can do that. You looked up at the caller another time and said, I want to do that. You looked up at him again and said, I'm going to do that. You went home and you bought a record and you started practicing. The day you were motivated to this point that you had enough courage, self-confidence to walk up on the stage and call that first tip. This was because you had a dream, a desire that became determination, and with enthusiasm, all of this caused you to take some action. Do you realize how much courage and how much self-confidence, how much motivation it took for you to take that first step? Let me take you back to the night you called your first tip. How many callers here tonight can remember their first tip? I'm quite sure many of us would like to forget that, but it's impossible. 34 years ago, I called my first dance. I'll rephrase that. I tried to. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. I know that's hard for you to believe. But I want to tell you something. There's one man still living and dancing today that was at that dance. He's 86 years old. He dances 6 nights a week. And every time he sees me, he don't says anything about a few of the accomplishments we've had in life. He always looks at me and says, Cal, you remember that night you opened your mouth and nothing came out? They never forget. Good Lord's going to be good to him one of these days. You callers know that it takes a lot of nerve to stand up before a group and call your first square dance. Think back the first tip you ever called. Remember how your legs were shaking, your knees were knocking, how dry your throat was, that mouth full of cotton. I know exactly how you felt. I'm feeling the same way right now. Those butterflies in your stomach, that blank mind. Remember someone shoved a mic in your hand and pure panic set in. You can barely hold it. Worst of all, it amplifies every little voice and quiver for all to hear. And you'd like to go to the bathroom. And about this time you look out and you see a room full of total strangers staring back at you. All of your friends have disappeared. You realize they are waiting expectantly for you to say something intelligently. And the best you can come up with is a muffled clearing of the throat and a strange, hi there. Then you try to put the record on the turntable. The hole seems too small and the turntable won't stop turning. Finally, all of it fits in place. You pick up the arm and set it on the needle. The arm on the needle of the record. And you miss it. It makes a terrible noise. You try it again. This time you can't find the starting of the record. In the process, you succeed in putting a needle gouge across the record. Remember that night? All of this does anything except build up someone's confidence. Somehow you find that tiny slot between the edge of the record and the grooves. Oh, man. Now the introductory music fills the air. Your memory bank clicks in the nick of time. You open your mouth, and a strange sound fills the hall. The voice is strong, filled with confidence and authority. And, man, it sounds great. You got the wrong side of the record on. You mumble something apologetic and turn the record over. In the meantime, you drop it. Then finally you get it all together, and after aging 10 years, the record ends. Through the roar of blood rushing to your head, you hear this strange sound, applause. You stumble off of the stage, your voice and hands still shaking. And you're hoping you still have to go to the bathroom. Thank you, Al. It really worked, buddy. Mama told me not to use that, and Al Brundage said, use it, Cal. Have confidence, boy. They'll laugh. Thank you. The applause, a kind word, a handshake, and you're hooked. You go home and you practice until your tall kids, your neighbors, and the dog knows the call better than you do. Hopefully you'll be asked to call again. A ham, a show-off, perhaps, but only a very few special, determined breed of people is willing to put up with the personal sacrifice, time, money, and expenditure, and the necessary hours and hours of dedication and hard work to attain the title caller. And you are. Let's look a little bit more. The caller. More power to you. Guy and Mildred Wilkinson gave me this and kind of reduced it down for you. I'm sure you can see that we're doing everything involved in motivation. You had a goal. You made a plan of action to accomplish that goal. You set a deadline for its attainment. And that is what motivation is really all about. One great motivation factor is setting goals for yourself. An individual who is motivated has strong desires, determination, self-confidence, believes in his own ability, and possesses a strong, positive mental attitude. If you are not now motivated, how can you become motivated? Remember, the strongest one single thing that can motivate you and keep you motivated is goal setting. How do you do this? When it comes to goal setting, according to an institute in technology, let me ask all of you people here, if you would, please. Everyone here that has goals written down, would you please hold up your hand and everybody look around and see who's got their hands held up? Folks, please look around. Please, I ask you. Could we have all of our leaders at the head table? Do you? Well, don't answer that because I know you got goals. I've been in the room with you. Listen to this, folks. This is honest statistics. 3% of the people in the world have written down goals. I'm proud to be one of them. 10% of the people in the world think about goals. Boy, I'm going to lay a goal on you tonight that you're going to go home and think about. Boy, am I ever going to let you have it. 87% of the people in the world don't have goals. It's setting those goals that'll keep you motivated. This is why so few people really attain success in the world today. Set your goals, write them down. Write down a plan of action. Write down a completion date for these goals. Write down problems you will encounter in achieving your goals. Then write down the answer to all of these problems. Write down what it will mean to you if you achieve these goals. In other words, how much personal satisfaction will you get from achieving your goals? Please believe me, I'm very serious about this. No way would the Creator give you the ability to think about something you want to achieve without giving you a way to achieve it. He wouldn't do that. Have faith and believe in yourself. If goal setting is so important, why don't more people do it? I've never seen callers be so quiet in my life. I didn't know I could preach this well. There are 4 reasons most people won't set goals and establish plans. Number 1, they don't know how. It's too much trouble. They don't have faith in their own goals and plans after they have developed them. They begin on a long-range basis, and that prevents them from seeing immediate results, and they become discouraged. You must set down goals for half a day, a week, a month, 6 months, and a year, and longer goals after writing your goals down. Review your goals. Change them if need be. Keep looking at them. Make new goals when the old goals have been met. How does a person become motivated and set goals? Here is 5 steps that can help you. Think about this, if you would, please. There was one man had a dream. His name was Bob Osgood. Then he picked up some more people, and they had some dreams with him. And then one time there was 23 met. And then CALLERLAB became active. And look at CALLERLAB now, 1,350 members. Somebody had to have a lot of believing in this organization. Number 1, start thinking of what you really want out of life. What do you really want? Make this determination and write it down, then dedicate yourself to its attainment. Do this with a positive attitude, and keep in mind 3 great laws, and don't break any one of them. The number 1 law is God's law. Number 2 is nature's law. You fall off the cliff, you're going to hurt yourself. Man's laws. You speed, you're going to get a ticket. Henry Ford and John Rockefeller and J. Paul Getty said, if your goal is only to make money, you'll never make it. But if your goal is to serve mankind and do good, and keep in mind the words to be and not the words to have, you will end up having more than you ever dreamed possible. Define your goals and how you are going to get there. Think big. I would like for you to put that in your subconscious mind, because what I'm going to lay on you later on, you better think big. Number 2, how we doing on time there?
Oh, you're doing fine.
That's great.
Think big.
I'm thinking big. You know what, Colin? The good Lord Made a few good men. He put hair on the rest of them. That's all I got to say, son. How it on, I'm nervous as hell. Number 2, develop a plan to achieve your goal, but sometimes it don't always work. And a deadline for its attainment. Plan your progress carefully, hour by hour, day by day, month by month, and you are going to want to itemize, categorize, and prioritize. Make sure that these are balanced out. In everything we do in life, we look for balance. These are 6 very important things in your life. I wish I could hand you a sheet with them on it because I believe this. There are 6 major factors in a person's life, and it's called the wheel of life. And think about this as we go over them. If your life was a wheel, would one side be flat and just one side really be full? A, physical development, good health, be physically fit to do your job. It's hard to call a dance when you're tired or when you're overworked or when you party all night. Some of you young fellas, you can do that. Wait till you get our age. You'll go to bed early. B, social development, a good personality leading to good relationships with everyone around you. C, mental development, a healthy, positive mind and attitude. Your mind is like a computer. What goes in will come out. Let me ask you this question, please. Would you today write down on a piece of paper every thought you've had today and share it with your wife? Why are you frowning, folks? Marshall Flippo would really be in trouble, wouldn't he? Kissing all them girls. Your mind is like a computer. If positive thoughts goes in, positive thoughts come out. And it's amazing what positive thoughts can do. Keep thinking the good thoughts. D, I'm very serious about this. I'm not a preacher, but I believe in what I'm about to say. Spiritual development. Make sure you act morally and ethically and cannot be questioned. Remember, God made you in His image. Have faith in Him and yourself. Out of 3 votes in life, how will you stand? The good Lord will vote for you. Will you vote for yourself, and will someone else vote for you? Many books have been written, many speeches have been presented, many sayings have been quoted, but there is one source that has more wisdom than any other, the Bible. Listen to this from the New Testament, book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 7 and 8. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open unto you. For everyone who asks receives. Be careful what you want. You might get it. Be careful. I always wanted to be a speaker. Here I am, and boy, am I nervous. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, it will be open. We move into the A category, financial development. J. Paul Getty. I like that man. He helped a lot of people in his life. He retired when he was 24 years old as a millionaire. He came back when he was 26, and he worked the rest of his life. And at 87 years old, he was chasing women through the castle in England. What he would have done if he'd have caught them, I don't know, but he was having fun chasing them. He gave us the greatest secret. Get up early in the morning, work late, and strike oil. That was his secret, eh? But let me tell you something, my friends. The greatest oil well in the world is your mind, and don't you forget it. You own the greatest oil well in the world. A lot of people feel it is wrong to be rich and have money. I disagree. My fellow callers, it is not a sin to make money. It is not a sin to have money. It's how you earn the money and what you do with it that can make it wrong. Try giving 1% of your earnings to a worthwhile cause and see what happens. It will come back to you tenfold. F. Do we as callers get so involved in this program that we love so much, or is it an ego trip, that we forget one of the greatest things that we have in the world, our family? That's what life's all about. Family life development. Is on that side of that wheel, is it a little bit flat? We ask an awful lot of our wives, don't we? Overlook the most precious thing in our lives, our partner, our children, and our friends. How many friends do you have that don't square dance now? Maybe we need to make some new ones. My friends, if these 6 factors are not in balance, you are in trouble. The wheel of life, if it is flat on 5 sides and strong on one, once again, it is unevenly imbalanced. Take a good look at it. Number 3, develop a sincere desire for your goals. Folks, I've got quite a speech, but we do have a time. I'm going to have to cut these things short pretty soon. But I'll try to just hit some of the high spots and go on through, because I've got an ending that I've got to share with you. Develop a sincere desire for your goal. A burning desire is the greatest motivator of any human action. Desire for success. Create the habit of success. A wise man of the Orient remarked, there are 3 kinds of people in all types of organization. We've got them here. But I ask you very carefully, are you one of them? Here's the number 1. Rowboat people, sailboat people, steamboat people. A rowboat people need to be pushed or shoved along. A sailboat people move when a favorable wind is blowing. A steamboat people move continuously through calm or storms. They usually are the master of themselves and their surroundings and their fate. Just remember those. 4, develop an unshakable confidence in yourself. How could you ever call a dance if you didn't believe that you couldn't do it? But make sure we believe in the good thoughts. Develop an unshakable confidence in yourself and your ability to achieve the goals you set for yourself. How do you achieve these goals? Let me tell you, friends, a lot of you don't know this, but there's a gentleman sitting over here, and maybe some of these other fellows on the board didn't realize that we came into this hall one time $18,000 short. And you know, they may not realize that we could have divided that 23 ways. But Al Brundage and I did. And then Joe Young said, let's have a raffle, and we'll make some money. And we did. Got us out of the hole. There's a way to do it if you believe it can be done. There was no doubt. The other people had faith in Al and I, and we had faith in everybody else. It's just I didn't have $23,000. Still don't. How do you achieve these goals? How do you become successful? How did you become the caller that you are now? You take one step at a time. Unless you're Lee Kaufman, and you take 2, and sometimes it don't work out. I told you that wouldn't go, Al. I told you it wouldn't go. You achieve one portion of your goal at a time, and above all, you must have a real burning desire to keep yourself motivated to achieve your goals. When you work for your goals will work for you. Real self-confidence is always the thing that will draw you there. The real secret of successful people is the absolute confidence that they have in themselves and their ability. 5, develop an unshakable determination to follow through. We're going to have to move on. And remember the 3 laws, God's laws, nature's laws, and man's laws. I'm going to have to move on across here because we have too many things to cover with a little bit of time. I would like to say this. Let me back up just a second. I went too far. Sure did. Callers, don't be like the woodman who cut 35 trees on the first day. The next day he cut 25 trees. The next day he cut 15, then 10, then 5. The boss finally told him we can no longer stand this type of production. The woodman replied, I'm working so hard and so fast I don't have time to stop and sharpen my tools. Don't get so busy that you don't have time to stop and see where you're going. If you want an example of motivation, look around at the pioneers of our organization. Bob and Becky Osgood, our first, I don't know whether it was chairman of the board, executive secretary, but I know they devoted 2 years of their life to this organization. And nobody but Bob Osgood and Becky knows what they give up. Our second executive secretary for the 2nd year, Stan and Kathy Burdick. You'd have to be there to know what these people sacrificed in the early years of this. Our executive secretary for that 3rd year, but actually we had hired one then. But let's look at the first chairman of our board. This is the mark of a real motivated leader. Just because he's not in the driver's seat doesn't mean he's not on the train and pushing. Our first chairman of the board, where is he sitting? He's still out there working, Mr. Jim Mayo. That's fantastic. How about our second one? I have so much admiration for this man, it's unbelievable. Most people would have quit many, many months ago, but not this man, Jack Lansing. God, we love you, Jack. We love you.
And you know, there's a lot of things can be said when a guy's trying to do something, other people say, you're never going to make it, you know. So don't bother with that. And you're not in the clique. You can't do this, you can't do that. Friends, I don't believe there is such thing as a clique. All you got to do is walk over and you can join them. But if you sit on this side, they may not come over to you, but all you got to do is go over there. People said, gee, there's no way I can get on the board. John Jones was not one of the 21st 23. Every person serving on this board now has been elected by you, and our third chairman, who has done a tremendous job, Mr. John Jones. And the man that we've all learned to love because he is a tremendous individual will be our next chairman. Look at these leaders. Mr. Dave Taylor. Dave, congratulations. Now, we're about to bring this to a conclusion. It'll only take 2 hours to sort of close this off here. I have some new goals for myself, and perhaps you would like to consider these goals also. Just to mention a few. What is this here? It's a rough podium to work with here. Let me take this out, please. You wouldn't believe I spent a year on this, but I did. Just to mention a few. I would like to be able to conduct a meeting and get everybody on the train like Don Armstrong does. You ought to sit in a meeting sometimes that he performs. I would like to contribute to the program like my good friend Al Bundy has over all these years. I would like to be able to entertain people with simple choreography and make them believe that they are dancing challenge material. I don't know how that word got in there because I don't believe in it. Dancing complicated material like Mr. Curly Custer does. He can take a star through and a slide through and make you think you're flying to him. Fantastic. I would like to be able to fly my own airplane around the country like Bob Fisk. I would like to... Oh, my goodness. Jerry, I'm coming, buddy. I'd like to have 2 gold records like Jerry Haig. Jerry, I'm coming, son. I would like to be a musician and have the knowledge that Bruce Johnson has. I would like to have a tremendous, deep, pleasant voice like John Jones. I would like to be able to write choreography like Lee Kaufman. Maybe not so much, just a little. How we doing? I don't even know what I'm doing up here. I'm just a poor old country boy from Arkansas, man. I would like to have a summer resort in the mountains like my good friend Frank Lane. I would like to have a hall full of dancers every night like Jack Lazary. It must be wonderful to have 50 squares every night, and you got to walk across the street to do it. I would like to teach a class of 50 squares in the morning and in the afternoon at night like our good friend Johnny LeClaire over our desk. Fantastic, isn't it? I would like to be able to have the ability to be nice enough to have someone come in Arkansas and build me a hall like they did for Melton Luttrell. I would like to have personal courage and be able to withstand the loss like Angus, like Moran did. I would like someday to have a voice and be able to breathe like Jim Mayo. I would like to be able to express myself in writing as well as Mr. Bob Osgood does. I would like to have my own travel agent like Bob Page so I could go on vacation when I wanted to. I would like to know choreography and know where all the dancers are at all the time, no matter how much of a mess I get into like Bill Peters does. I would like to call at all levels and entertain the dancers and be young looking like Jerry Schotzer. I would like to be able to be an MC and tell jokes and get laughs like Mr. Dave Taylor does. I would like to make enough money to retire in Reno, Nevada like Bob Van Antwerp has. I would like to be able to produce records like Mr. Don Williamson does. Thank you, Don. No commercials, Cal. Knock it off. I would like to have the determination and the willpower like Herb Eggener. He stayed in there. He didn't win every time, but he won in the last. I really mean this. He's a great man. I would like to be an executive as good as John Kaltenthaler. And there's one little fellow left. He pleases everybody. I've been calling for 34 years. I've never heard anybody say any bad thing about this man because he hasn't done anything bad. Everybody loves him. He fills the hall. He's the only guy I know of does everything wrong and come out right. He stands up with his feet cocked up on the wall and a cigarette between his fingers and a microphone there, and the hall's filled with people. Mr. Marshall Flippo. One little last goal I'd like to throw in there that I'm working on, and right now Marshall don't know it. He's either getting old or slowing down. I'd like to be able to kiss as many women as Marshall does, and I'm 4 ahead of him right now, man. And above all, what really makes a motivated person successful and happy is giving more than he is getting paid for. The greatest gift of all is giving. Great leadership is taught by example, and these pioneers in our organization have certainly given us examples to follow. Every one of these leaders is a winner. Folks, I want to tell you something. If you've lost your motivation, we're closing. We're closing. Can I have a drink of water? I'm going to wind it up, Mother. Mama said wind it up. If you've lost your motivation, there are 5 things that you might look for. Doubt. Doubt about yourself and your ability to do the job you're being paid for. Self-confidence is lost and worry takes over. Procrastination. You're going to put off. We're going to wait a couple more days before we do it. It never comes. You stop taking risks. Devotion to false goals. You covet the word of caller and behind the microphone more than you do the program for the people. You get complacent. You surrender to the inner urge to take it easy. He's satisfied with good instead of excellent. Loss of purpose. What is our purpose in this square dance activity? It is to entertain dancers. It is to show people a good time. Let them enjoy themselves. Bob Osgood told me that one time many years ago, and he said, the real fun of square dancing is 5 or 6 or 7 squares where you know everybody. It only took me 25 years for that to sink in. At a caller seminar one time, a gentleman got up to speak. Sitting next to him was Stan Burdick, and this young caller said, I've heard that 40 times. Stan punched him and said, well, maybe this time you'll get it. There are 5 steps to take over from this. Crystallize your thinking and set a definite goal for yourself. There must be a plan and a deadline for its attainment. Number 3, you must develop a burning desire to reach your goals. Have unshakable faith in yourself. You must create a force of iron will determination that you want to follow through with your goals. What is a motivated square dance caller? Write down your goals. Deep-rooted desire to stay with his goals. A burning desire to be successful. A positive attitude. Successful habits. A dynamic personality. Doesn't mind working hard to achieve his goals. He does think enthusiasm. He has self-confidence. One failure doesn't get him down. We could go on. I have several pages of that, but I want to end this with a challenge to you and a goal for our future. Folks, I'm fixing to let you have it. 4 years ago in Washington, D.C., we were at the executive meeting, and Jim Mayo and I were rooming together. We got up the next morning, and Jim Mayo turned on the TV. There was a gentleman on TV by the name of Oral Roberts. On that TV show in that morning, and Jim will remember this, he unveiled a dream in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A medical center to teach nurses. Another medical center on the side to teach doctors. In the middle of it was a hospital. 2 weeks ago, I visited that site, ladies and gentlemen, and it's 90% completed. That's the most beautiful building I've ever seen in my life. I never felt like I felt being there. It was absolute. You ought to go there and see it. Okay. Could we do something? Could CALLERLAB do something like this? Can you dream in your mind of a CALLERLAB square dance center somewhere in the center part of the USA? You know Hot Springs, Arkansas would be the place for this center. But I will surrender to Nashville, Tennessee, since it's centrally located. Could you visualize? It has been approved now. Today I preached my sermon at Ways and Means Committee today. And we have a program to present to the Board of Governors next year on our ideas. CALLERLAB, just think about this. We got to have the land. Somebody in here might donate it. Once we get the plan going, we'll get the money. CALLERLAB's office there. CALLERLAB Square Dance Museum. A CALLERLAB Hall of Fame. And I thought, sure, Bob Osgood to say, don't do this. what Bob said was, can I have one little corner for the Hall of Fame pictures in there? Can you visualize a square dance center with many meeting rooms, a balcony that would hold 10,000 spectators? This could be full every Friday and Saturday night with one of you calling, people coming from all over the world to see the CALLERLAB Square Dance Center. A motel that would hold 2,500 people or so, we could hold our conventions there. A restaurant capable of feeding all these people. Now, I just got one. I'm going to close with one final thing here. No, it's not going to be the final thing. I got one more. I just asked one thing in this dream we got. There's going to be a chapel over there. You got to have a church with this. I just asked one thing. I want to preach the first sermon in that chapel. That's all I asked for. Wait a minute, I'm not finished there, Jack. I want the Board of Governors to be behind me singing in the choir. That's all I ask. Okay? I'm finished.
Cal, I am motivated. I would like one day to be an MC that could keep you to 20 minutes. Before we let some of you away to get rid of the torture that you're suffering, we have, hopefully, we have a... You notice he claimed the jokes that went for himself and blamed the ones that didn't on somebody else. That's Cal. We have several announcements, but we'll make them quick. This one does not appear anywhere in any of your programs. There will be a plus-level closed meeting at 5 p.m. Tuesday in the Lido room. Members only, please. That's one. After this session closes tonight and we'll let you out of here, we would like to tell you that there are sessions on Contra, Choreography for Dancer Success, Record Tune Clearinghouse Committee meeting, and that's a closed meeting, a Teacher Interest Session, and the Advanced and Challenge Committee meeting. Of course, I would like to point out that all of the exhibit areas are open, and we would like to call your attention to the fact that there is a second floor there, rooms 361, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're up the stairs, and they're all, I hear you, John, they are all well worth visiting. Make a visit to any of those rooms. I believe the elegant and almost past Chairman John Jones has a few words he wishes to say. I'm going to stand up. I feel emotional enough down there. I couldn't get...
Can I interrupt, brother? I'm real serious about this. John, I have to do this.
Couldn't get hail to the chief.
All children have to have some toy to play with.
Meet my wife.
This is no joke, ladies and gentlemen, and I was serious about what I said about that building. Dave Taylor just donated the first $1,000 towards CALLERLAB Center somewhere in the United States. I want the rest of the board to match it.
It would please me very much to do the same thing, but the IRS got mine. Several of you have expressed concern to me this afternoon about a mainstream basic program and some of the discussion that was held in the mainstream basic committee meetings, that perhaps you think something else might need to be done that may be different from what the mainstream basic committee is going to do. In that regard, there will be a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock in the Colonial Ballroom with Dave Taylor chairing that meeting. Those of you who are interested in that aspect should attend that meeting. Thank you.
Okay, ready? Okay. You want to say something else?
I would like to say one other thing, if I may, in all sincerity. And he introduced everyone but himself, but I think Colin Walton did a super job as MC tonight.
There's less than 2 days of short people jokes left. I'm also from Florida, and for those of you from California that don't know this, you've been putting on your letters for a long time, Caliph, which means come and live in Florida, and we'll welcome all of you.